Amen. Good morning, Oakwood University. Oh, what a beautiful day. No, we won't go back to where God has brought us from. It is an honor and a privilege to be here this morning to introduce someone very, very special to me. But before I do that, I want to tell you about the upcoming events. I want to thank Dr. Ramona Hyman for her vision with the African American Healers Conference. And the conference this year is focused on women in the vineyard. And so we're looking forward to a number of events this weekend that you are not going to want to miss. We want to make sure you come out on Sabbath to the 11 o'clock Divine Worship Service, where speaker will be Dr. Ifoma Kwesi. I know she's going to bring a powerful word. We will also have the music ministry of Central State University under the direction of Jeremy Winston. And then you want to grab a bite and come back at 3:30 p.m. for Sister Talk. There's going to be a panel of some really phenomenal women in our community who are going to discuss matters related to African American women and working in the vineyard. And that will be hosted by Kenny Anderson, who is the host of Second Chance Radio program. And these women are a part of the panel on his every third Sunday women's panel. So you want to be here for that, and then following that will be a concert featuring Janice Brown right here in the Oakwood University Church. So make sure that you're here and you don't miss out on these opportunities to experience this conference under the vision of Dr. Ramona Hyman. But today, to launch this conference, we have a phenomenal woman, Dr. LaKeischa Webb McMillan. And I have, the formal biography that I could read for you today. She's a graduate of Oakwood College, which is what it was when we were here. And she's also a graduate of Loma Linda University Medical School. She went on from there to complete her residency in obstetrics and gynecology. And upon completing that, went into group practice. And then she transitioned from clinical medicine to which she is doing now, which is the host of a podcast called HouseCall with Dr. Mac, where she teaches people how to connect the dots of their health and how to take care of the whole person. She is also the director of Education Without Walls for McMillan Enterprises. And all of these things are wonderful, and she has many more accomplishments that have prepared her for this moment to speak to you. But for me, she's much, much more than that. Our friendship spans pretty much our entire lifetime. We were friends before we remembered that we were friends. In fact, we have to rely on our parents for some of our memories that we have in early childhood. And through that friendship, where it really evolved into a sisterhood is when we were roommates here at Oakwood in Carter Hall. Carter Hall, second floor, old wing, whoop, whoop. Y'all don't know anything about that now because Carter Hall is brand new. So, that's what it was back in the day. But through those years, one of the things that I have observed about Dr. McMillan, she's always been kind of ahead of her time. Even going back to high school, over here at Oakwood Adventist Academy, LaKeischa, she was always the one who would be left in charge of the class when the teacher had to step out. And I can still remember her saying when we would start getting loud, excuse me. She was also the one who would continue asking questions long after the lecture was finished, while the rest of us rolled our eyes and sucked our teeth because we were ready to go. But we loved and respected her. Even more than that, though, and I know she's here to give you a personalized prescription for working in the vineyard, but if I were to give a prescription to the young women today, I would tell you, get you a sister friend. Get you a sister friend like Dr. McMillan to go through life with. And we have some of our other sister friends here sitting in the audience, but get someone who will get down into the dark places that life is going to take you with you, but one who won't leave you there or let you stay there. Get you a friend, a sister friend, who will listen to you without judgment, cry with you, and then tell you, okay, now what? What are you going to do about it? What's the solution? Those are the kind of sister friends you want to go with life. Not someone who's going to just do mess with you, but someone who's going to call you out of your mess. She is a woman of integrity. She is innovative. She is creative, passionate in everything that she does. I have watched the hurdles that she has jumped. I've watched the battles that she has fought. I've watched her transform things that seem like they would derail all of her plans, but transform those things into opportunity. And that's why I know she has a mighty word for you today. And so I hope you will open your hearts and that you will listen to this word that you're about to receive. Before she comes, though, I'd like to have her husband, Wendell, stand, who's here supporting her. Wendell McMillan. They are the parents of 2 children, Wendell III and Skylar Nicole. And I'd like her mom to stand, who's also here with her, Linda Webb. Sitting by her mom are some of our aunties who have been with us ever since we've grown up and helped to raise us. And I also saw a few members of the class of '92 at Oakwood Academy. Greg Peters, Bambi. So anyway, thank you for being here. I hope you will give her your attention as she presents a personalized prescription for working in the vineyard.
Wow, good morning. It's so good and weird to be back home. Let's bow our heads for just a word. Lord, you've already inhabited this space, this time and space. We're just here for a divine appointment. We thank you. Amen. I want to thank the administration, Dr. Pollard. I want to thank retired Provost, Dr. Timothy McDonald. I want to thank the Black History Committee and my former English professor, Dr. Ramona Hyman, for extending this invitation for me to come back home. This is really, really nice. And as you know, my husband has come along with me. He's actually the engine behind all of this, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a little bit. But he said I made the mistake of telling him what I wanted to do and that I want to do it right. So he's the process procedure person. I'm the, oh, let's just do it and get it done. So thank you for coming, honey. So as you know already, I'm Dr. McMillan, and I help people connect their health dots. You know how most people know that when you have a cough or a fever, you need some medicine, probably some antibiotics to help that heal, right? Right? Okay. Well, it turns out, on the flip side, that most people don't connect that a headache, indigestion, insomnia, trouble with focusing to study, trouble with relationships, hypertension even, diabetes, are sometimes the physical manifestations of internal or external stressors. And that situation also needs a personalized prescription for it to heal. And that's where I come in. Now, I know most of you are saying, well, what does that have to do with me? Well, before you totally tune me out, may I just ask you a couple of questions? What if I could give you a personalized prescription for happiness, success, and freedom? And what if that same prescription could give you the freedom to live the abundant life that God intends for His children? And to sweeten the deal just a little bit more, what if I could give you some bragging rights? What if you could achieve happiness, success, and freedom just a little bit faster and a little bit more efficiently than Generation X or the baby boomers? Would that be worth the next 25 minutes of your time? Then let's get started. I'm going to need your help today, okay? So I know some of you guys are on Twitter. I'm on Twitter. I'm on IG. I'm on Instagram. So we're going to get some things trending, okay? I'm going to tell you 3 stories. And for each story, I'm going to need you to use some hashtags. If you hear something that inspires you or a quote or something, my handle is @RealDoc74 on Twitter. And if you want to snap some pictures and tag me in some pictures on IG, it's the same handle, @RealDoc74. The first story, we're going to use hashtag HouseCall, or you can shorten it with hashtag HC, hashtag happiness, hashtag HouseCall, hashtag happiness. The second story is going to be hashtag HouseCall, hashtag success, hashtag HouseCall, hashtag success. And the third story is going to be hashtag HouseCall, hashtag freedom. Okay? All right? I'm a little bit of a teacher, so I need some feedback from you, okay? Okay, all right. I can remember just like it was yesterday. I was getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was jumping in my car to go up the 101 freeway to make sure that I was on the wards to do my pre-rounds before my fellow hit the floor at 6:30 so that we could do our rounds, so that we could go into the pre-op area to make sure that our patient was ready to go into the OR by 7:30. And then I had the privilege of standing there for sometimes up to 8 hours in surgery on my GYN oncology rotation. We would finish that case, take the patient back to the post-op area, and then we would go and do our post-rounds, our evening rounds, to sign out to the on-call resident. Then I would jump in my car, go back down the 101 freeway to get into my apartment, maybe kiss my husband goodnight, grab a bite to eat, fall into bed, and just to do it all over again the next day. Oh, and by the way, I was studying for boards part 3. Ring, ring, hello. It's the phone call you never really want to get. Excuse me? I didn't? Okay, so what does that mean? What? Okay, so it's up to her. It's a... Okay, thanks, bye. I didn't pass. I didn't pass boards part 3. What does that mean? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. Let me tell you a little bit about boards part 3. So after you graduate medical school, you are a doctor. You have your MD, you are a doctor. Every career has hurdles and milestones that you have to get through. And so for medicine, there are a series of tests that you have to take. Boards Part 3 is one of those that you take after you've graduated. And for some programs, you take it at the end of your second year before you go into your third year. And some programs say, you know what, it's okay, just wait until you're done, and you can then take it at the end, okay? Because some programs allow you to write prescriptions, your DEA, the narcotic prescriptions, on the residence license, where some of them, where I was at White Memorial and in East Los Angeles, said, no, we're only going to give you a residence license for 2 years, and you need to go take boards part 3. Fast forward about a week, I'm sitting in my residency program director's conference office. Big, wide table. She's sitting at the head. I'm sitting about to her right, and across from me is another attending that had been teaching me for the last 2 years. LaKeisha, I'm sorry, we just can't keep your position. It's just asking too much because we're such a small program for your fellow residents to take on the extra load. I'm going to have to open up your spot. I know medical education said that you could take a sabbatical, a study sabbatical, pass your boards, and then come back, but I just can't do that. So at the end, when you finish, and if you finish and pass your boards, you can see if your spot is still open and see what we can do for you. I remember walking out of that meeting and having a conversation with Dr. Warner, who was the doctor at the other side of the table. And in my head, I go, did I just get fired? I think I just got fired. And Dr. Warner, with tears in her eyes, said to me, LaKeisha, we don't know why she wouldn't save your spot. You're such a good physician. This is just one hurdle we have to help you get over. And I don't know what on earth possessed me to say in that moment, but I do know. I stood and I looked at her and said, it's okay. Wherever God has for me is for me. So we're going to jump ahead a little bit. And a friend of mine calls me from Washington, D.C. and says, what you doing? Through a series of events, we moved to D.C. and I began my third year of residency at Washington Hospital Center. Little did I know that I was going to be able to fully understand what Revelation 3 verses 7 and 8 says. What door I open, no man can close. And what door I close, no man can open. I see your deeds. See, I place before you an open door. I had failed. But it was an opportunity to experience happiness. Because I was able to go to this program, I was introduced to a gentleman, Dr. John George, who began to cultivate in me my natural ability and my love for laparoscopic surgery. And because of this opportunity, I was able to become the only OBGYN to operate a $1 million Da Vinci robotic machine that is specifically made to do laparoscopic surgery at a very small hospital in Upper Montgomery County, Maryland. Hashtag HouseCall, hashtag happiness. The next story, hashtag HouseCall, hashtag success. You know, there are some dates that are indelibly etched in your memory. April 2nd, 2009 is one of those dates for me. I was finishing up about 4 minor procedures, and before I went to go get my last patient, one of the nurses said, hey doc, before you leave, you need to come see me. Before you go upstairs, that was where labor and delivery was, you need to come see me. That was no unusual request because I was getting sidebar consults all the time. So I finished with my patient, went and found Kelly, and she leads me to the pediatric holding area. And when I opened the door, my husband is sitting there, and the first thing that hit my mind was, how sweet you came to take me to lunch. And then I really looked at his face, and I knew something was wrong. I don't remember all the words he said. All I remember is hearing him say, Norton called, there's been an event, not sure, another stroke, heart attack, dad, didn't make it. And I remember looking at him, and I wanted to call him a liar. Because I had just talked to my mother at 7:30 that morning, but later I found out at 10:07 my father was pronounced dead. I remember feeling as if the blood totally rushed from my head onto the floor. It was as if my body became cold as ice, as if the coldness of death had leapt off of my father here in Huntsville, Alabama, and found its ways across the miles into Maryland and engulfed my body. He was fine. Well, we came home. We memorialized my father. He's resting over at the Oakwood Memorial Gardens now, waiting for that great getting up morning. We went through all of the regular memorializations, and I went back home and was fine. So I thought. I was doing just the rote things to get through life. And then I started experiencing some weird physiological and physical pains up and down my back, weird sensations on my skin on my back. Of course, I self-diagnosed myself with MS by this point, and went and saw a neurologist, had an MRI where they scanned from the top of my head to my sacrum. I had an EMG study done, which is a nerve conduction study, because something weird was going on with my left arm. All I needed was someone to help give me some tools to deal with my emotional grief. There was nothing wrong with my body. And it was at this moment I met a gentleman named Eric Engelking, who became my therapist. And I tell everybody, I believe that God has put godly people on this earth in certain aspects and certain areas to help us get through the stuff of life. And so it was at this time that I began a journey, and I began to understand that our physical health is different from our psychological or emotional health. And Eric began to unfold that concept even more on one of our shows. And he said it this way: our physical health is more of a survival mechanism. So say, for instance, a little kid goes and touches the stove, steps back because it's hot. Survival, that's wrong. But our emotional health, our emotional pains, when we go towards our emotional pains, that's when we find healing, not moving away from it. And so I began a journey. And it was at this time I began a journey away from clinical medicine and a transition. And this is when I had to learn that I needed to redefine what success meant for me. I must admit, unlike this collective group here, I'm sure most of you all already know that you need to define what success means for you. Not any external factors, not the community, not your family, not your friends, but you need to decide what success means for you. I have to admit, I had a very narrow definition of success. For about 23 years plus, I had been able to narrow down success to bare items on a checklist. High school, check. College, check. Medical school, check. Residency, check. Marriage, check. Kids, check. What happens when there's no more on your checklist? Can I give you an antidote? Something that I've learned in this journey of learning to define what success means for me and what it looks like on an everyday basis. I have the privilege of having a life strategist on the board of LaKeischa, Inc. You need to have your own board. And you need to be careful who sits on your board. And that life strategist has helped me to learn how to give a definition of success for me. And she's helped me do that by asking me what I believe is a very pivotal and paradigm-shifting question. Whenever I'm going to sit down and put together a goal, she says to me, "And that will help you do what?" And that will help you do what? And as I'm asking myself that question, and when I cannot ask that question anymore, then I'm able to frame what success looks like. And it evolves. And I believe that this question, "and that will help you do what?" is very essential in helping you to clarify what success means for you. I'm going to go a little step further and say, I also believe that that question will help you clarify and understand what you're really asking for when you pray the prayer of Jabez found in 1 Chronicles 4 and 10, when it says, oh, that thou would bless me indeed and enlarge my territory. Keep your hand on me and keep me from harm. If she hadn't defined success for herself, Bessie Coleman would never have become the first African American and Native American female to have a pilot's license. If she hadn't learned to define success for herself, she would have never become the first African American and Native American person of descent to own an international pilot's license. And because of her, phenomenal women such as Captain Sonia McCall Harris, an alumnus of Oakwood University, would have never become the first African American female certified pilot in command on a CL-65 regional jet. If she hadn't defined success for herself, Florence Mills would never have become one of the beautiful songbirds of the 1920s, being able to use her influence to champion the cause for the equal rights of African Americans. Her territory was so enlarged that at the time of her premature death, the New York Times reports that 10,000 people descended on the streets of Harlem to pay their final respects. Duke Ellington memorialized her in his song Black Beauty. How will your epitaph read? How will you occupy until he comes? The last story is really a continuation of the second story. Hashtag HouseCall, hashtag freedom. I didn't finish the last part of that text, 1 Chronicles 4:10. The very last part says, and God granted his request. And God granted his request. So as I'm going through therapy with Eric and I'm starting to realize that I want to make a transition, what am I going to do now? One of the other physical things that happened with me was that my throat felt as if somebody it had a tightening in it, like somebody was taking their hand and kind of tightening my throat at times. And it happened, I think, about a year after my dad died, and then it happened again after my mother went through some medical challenges, and I came down here with her, and I went back and was trying to decide what am I going to do and how is this all going to fit. And it was just anxiety, that's all it was. But I sat down with Eric, and as he would so poignantly do, he would just lead me down some paths. And he said to me one time, he said, you say that you used to get up in front of people and speak. You tell me that you used to be a thespian and be in plays, and you had no problems talking. And now you're telling me that you feel as if somebody is choking you. He said, either you have nothing to say, or you have a whole lot to say. And I said, okay. Ponder, ponder. The next session we had, we're talking and we're working through some things, and he said, you know what? I think you should do a radio show. A what? You know, go down to WGTS. I know I haven't been down there in a long time, but look at their programming, see what they have. Maybe you should do a medical education show. That's what you like to do. You love to educate people about their health, help them connect their health dots. Why don't you see if you can work out something with them? Just a suggestion, just a suggestion. I sat on it. About a day or two later, my husband and I are going to an appointment, and we're driving, and I said, you know what Eric said to me the other day? Because I was always coming home like, oh my gosh, I just had another breakthrough. And I said, Eric said I should do a radio show. And he said, I know exactly what you need to do. You need to do a podcast. A what? A podcast. And so HouseCall with Dr. Mack was born. To date, we've been on 6 of the 7 continents. We've been listened in over about 13 countries. We've been in about 18 of the United States. And we've had about 18 people come and tell their health stories, and about 21 experts come in and give their healthcare provider or their expert perspective. This past Tuesday, we released episode number 60. And as of November, we were joined and became part of the Langley Harper family. And our community is growing and our territory is enlarging. Now, I tell you this to say, was it scary? Yeah. Was it and is it sometimes still hard? Yes. But it's because we took the prescription that we're able to experience the abundant life that God has intended for His children. And so now today, I write this prescription for you. I want you to take a teaspoon of failure, turn it into an opportunity for happiness. Follow that with 2 tablespoons of your own definition of success. And in it, you'll find the freedom to live the abundant life that God intended for His children. So now, go work in your vineyards.